And together we're Corporate Conundrums. And today we're bringing you words of wisdom.
Make sure to tick the bell so you can subscribe and be notified of all the future podcasts that are coming out. And also have a look through some of our library of previous podcasts and words of wisdom.
Great.
We hope you enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
Hello, Frank. It's Nicola and Wendy from Corporate Conundrums. How can we help you today?
Yeah, hi there. I was recommended by a colleague to, or you were recommended to give you a call. I've got a query. I'll give you a bit of background first. My background, field sales, energy. We advise businesses on how to get the best out of their energy use, and then hope to sell them services. So that's the background. A wide range of businesses, from small to medium and a couple of large ones. But my question is, how do I encourage my colleagues that are doing very, very well to share best practice and strategies and give an idea of best niches to maybe target with those colleagues on the team that are not doing quite so well? Is that a straightforward question?
It is. Thank you for calling, Frank. That's quite a big but important question, because I don't think that's unique to yourself, especially in field sales. Do you want to kick this one off, Nicola?
Well, I always feel that whenever it comes to helping somebody else, there has to be an element of trust and buy-in. And when you're a new member coming into a sales team, particularly a field sales team like you're describing there, and I think would this be in Scotland where people are quite far spread out? Is this right?
Yes, it is. It's across the whole of Scotland.
Right, and so it's often in those scenarios that people feel they ought to be spending all their time on the road selling, and any team meetings and things are done remotely and phoning in.
Yes.
And it's very difficult to build up that trust, particularly with new people, and invariably the new people are the lower performers because they don't have the same level of contact.
Yeah, and I don't think they feel part of an organisation. They're isolated in that they are an entity, almost like being self-employed within an organisation.
It's effectively, sorry to interrupt, it's effectively like being self-employed.
Right.
You maybe don't meet, you maybe meet up with colleagues once a month.
Right.
But the rest of the time you work, you're based from home, obviously travelling, and you travel around designated areas.
So I think there's the problem. Not having a rapport or a friendship or a relationship with those that you're working with, it doesn't engender a feeling of trust and a feeling of want to connect and share ideas. I think, Nicola, you mentioned the buddy process that I liked.
Well, I was just thinking that there's, particularly in a lot of the big management consultancy firms, they've got, whenever you get a new member of staff, they're immediately buddied up with two people within the organisation.
Yeah. One
at the very top, if at all possible, not necessarily the top 2 or 3 people, but at the very top, and also somebody else embedded in another department. And those people, their job is, 1, to befriend the person, but 2, to get them round the organisation and to introduce them to other people. But it's really just, it starts networking you immediately into that organisation.
Yes.
And that for me would work quite well in a sales team, because when you start, you get your bag, you're out on the road, but you're then on your own again.
Yeah.
But immediately, if Frank was my buddy, if you were my buddy, then I've now got 2 people that I talk to every day and ideally meet up with as much as possible, maybe even that shadowing concept. But it's not really about the shadowing, and it's not really about that initial learning you get. It's about becoming an important person in those people's lives.
Yes, and then you have the will, the want, and the desire to actually chat about how work's been, more in a non-professional way than a professional way almost, so that the sharing of information is organic. It just happens through a friendship call. And I do think this idea of being on the road sales, although the organisation may just be bean counting with regard to the income they're getting, the key component of sustainability and keeping people enjoying their work is that feeling of they're part of something and they're not just isolated and just there to earn money. For me, work's not just about, financial remuneration even, financial remuneration. It's very much about being part of something and an organisation and building a relationship with that organisation and those that work within it.
I can imagine if I was the high-flying salesperson, I'll enjoy the fact that I achieve my targets more perhaps than somebody else. And so the idea of voluntarily giving my inside information to my what may be colleagues, but I might also see as my competitors in some way. It could be quite a threatening environment to be in.
Yeah.
And I found that also happens in other organizations that don't have the real sales targets. And so much of that is about having shared goals and shared payment and bonus structure. So there's an element of individual achievement there, but you still get your recognition for being the high performer yourself, but that you also can achieve additional remuneration if your whole team at least achieves a certain level of de minimis.
Yes, indeed.
And therefore it's trying to give something, because if I'm a salesperson, I'm driven by making money and proving that I'm good at something, or perhaps it's I like being on the road. You know, people have all their different things.
Yeah.
But commission is a key part of
you
selling.
know, I absolutely agree with that. But I alongside that is I love this buddy system because I just think it engenders a feeling of being part of something, and there's much more likelihood of sharing ideas. I don't know if that's something that you currently do in any way, Frank.
No, they don't really do that. What we're trying to do is on a daily conference call is to say, look, you know, come on, share the best practices. We all get good months periodically, but it's really to try and get the consistently good performers who are maybe having success in a particular niche, for example.
Yes.
So it might be the licensed trade, it might be the retail trade, to say, look, you know, you've got your designated area, so it's not as though somebody's going to step into your area and take your business. But why not share that? But there's a great reluctance to share that. There's no great incentive. And maybe because we're all individually targeted, you know, we all have individual targets. Yeah, rather than there's a kind of lack of, not cohesion, but there's a lack of teamwork.
Well, that aspect,
it's very
Nicola,
much a team of 10 individuals.
And that aspect that Nicola's just mentioned about perhaps looking at a commission structure that is based on not only individual achievement, but based on the team achievement might address some of what you've just said. I think the idea of developing a team, and something that just occurred to me as you were talking, Frank, is having information written down. You know, I succeeded doing X, Y, and Z. The principles of behind that, or how I achieved it, was X, Y, and Z. Maybe having a crib sheet that once a month is shared amongst the team, and people can say, "Oh yeah, that's an idea or a thought I hadn't had previously."
That's a good idea. Yeah, I mean, I'll put this forward to the management because I've tried individually to encourage them to encourage the managers to encourage the high performers, and there are some that are just regularly high performers, so that maybe they work harder, maybe they take knockbacks, because sales, obviously, you're going to encounter the lots of no's before you get the yeses. So maybe some people are better at dealing with those than others. But it'd be good to kind of qualify that, rather than even on the sales meetings we get together and it's purely, it's almost a name and shame.
Yes.
Oh, wow, here's a stat. Stevie's done fantastic. Pat on the back, Stevie, round of applause. John, you need to improve. What's happening? Which doesn't do much good. It's demotivating.
Absolutely.
Well, it sounds like if you've got a few things there to take forward, Frank, and we really look forward to hearing how you get on, and perhaps you might even share some of that learning in a future podcast.
That would be great.
No, I'll be happy to do that. I really appreciate that. Some good ideas. Yeah, I'll forward those on. And I've got another colleague who's in a different industry, he's in the letting agency business. And I know he's got a couple of queries, so it's okay with you. I'll maybe pass your details on.
That would be great. That would be great. Many thanks, Frank, and thank you for calling Corporate Conundrums. Bye for now.
My pleasure.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
You know, I was thinking, Wendy, this is similar in sports.
Yeah.
Because if you're looking at athletics, and somebody is able to run the 1 minute mile, but then because they're able to run it, then people start running it in 59 seconds.
Yes.
And part of that is because those people that were able to do it become the trainers. Sometimes it's more like a generational thing. So once those people stop competing, they then are more willing to pass on their knowledge. But of course, in sales, we're really needing that knowledge right now. We can't be waiting until everybody's retired before they give over their nuggets.
That wouldn't work.
No.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that. But I think of this aspect of befriending and the buddy system and making people feeling part of a team, even though they are effectively competing against each other. Although Frank mentioned that they were in specific demographics, so there isn't actually actual competition because they have their area specific to themselves. So there isn't a real reason not to share the information. It's maybe an ego thing. And that old ego thing can get in the way of a lot of situations in work. But the idea of buddy friendship, becoming part of an entity and thinking of the organisation growing, not just your commission, but growing and being part of that organic growth.
And you care because the buddy becomes somebody you care about.
Yeah.
And you actually want to look that you've done a good enough job by getting your buddy to that same position.
And the commission structure that you mentioned encourages it. So although it's not just let's be best friends, it's if we are all part of a growing organisation, yes, we get a commission, but there's also remuneration for engendering that feeling of team building and development and passing the ideas back and forth, and possibly even having some crib sheet that is delivered once a month on how or why they think sales were made. Was it just the fact that they put time and energy in it, or did they have a specific technique?
What was the secret? Yeah.
What was the secret? Did they have a technique in how they were actually managing the sales process, and was it a regular technique they were using?
Well, thank you for listening to our Corporate Conundrums Words of Wisdom. Make sure to post any comments in the box below, and tick that bell so you can subscribe and be notified of any future ones. So it's bye from her.
And it's bye from her. That's Wendy and Nicola.
Bye.
Bye.